Good evening, feeble-minded Earthlings, and welcome to another episode of the Intergalactic Review. My name is Imperial Starbeast, and if you're receiving this transmission, it's because I've taken over your mind, and we are now interacting as one. Tonight I'd like to talk about Batteries Not Included. Frank and Faye Riley are an elderly couple who live in a rundown part of New York City. There they run a diner in the East Village, as well as an apartment building, which is home to a poor but friendly group of people. As neighboring buildings are torn down, Frank and Faye learn that a property developer wants them out so they can erect a new high-rise.
Tonight, I'll have them out by tonight.
When residents refuse to move, the developer manager sends a hoodlum named Carlos and his gang of thugs to encourage the couple and their tenants to leave. When the tenants resist, Carlos vandalizes Riley's café.
Welcome to America.
Fortunately, Frank, Faye, and their tenants are visited by mechanical life forms, which use their extraterrestrial abilities to repair the diner and help them fight back. A wave of family-friendly alien movies were released in the 1980s, following the success of Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. the Extraterrestrial. From Starman to Explorers to Mac and Me, Hollywood seemed to agree with Steven Spielberg's idea of peaceful beings from beyond the stars, and it made for a refreshing change of pace from the Cold War paranoia movies that were commonplace in the genre before then. Batteries Not Included is a 1987 American sci-fi fiction comedy film directed by Matthew Robbins. The story was originally titled Gramps and Grammy and Company, and was intended to be featured in the television series Amazing Stories. But executive producer Steven Spielberg liked the idea so much that he decided to adapt it into a film. Batteries Not Included is the first feature film screenwriting debut of Brad Bird. The script had an amazing sense of optimism that would have made for a perfect Amazing Stories episode. Still, the movie debuted at number 4 at the box office and gained a mostly mixed reception. It helped launch the careers of Brad Bird, who went on to make his feature directorial debut with the Warner Brothers animated feature, The Iron Giant. This movie provides a heavy dose of nostalgia. Everything from the outfits to the hairstyles and the movie's special effects all bring you back to a simpler time of cinematic storytelling. I love how the movie relies on its use of character building and interactions rather than its special effects, which are nostalgic in their own right. The film's themes are centered around miracles that everyday people experience, and how the smallest acts of kindness can change the lives of the hopeless. Rewatching this movie during a time when everything in life is so divisive and bleak makes its charming and heartwarming story all the more infectious. I had a smile on my face its entire runtime. Batteries Not Included is heavily driven by the characters in the story, and I love its unconventional cast. Elizabeth Pena, played by Marissa Estival, is a pregnant woman waiting for her boyfriend to return from the touring with his band. Harry Noble, played by Frank McRae, is a kind retired boxer who hardly says a word. And Mason Baylor, played by Dennis Boutsikaris, is a starving artist whose girlfriend walks out on him because of the dump the neighborhood has turned into. The movie's most unconventional stars are the elderly couple Frank and Faye Riley, played by Hume Cornyn and Jessica Tandy, who have everything on the line if the building is destroyed. Everyone is uniquely broken in their own way, even the movie's antagonist Carlos, played by Michael Carmine. After the constant harassment from Carlos and his goons, Frank and Faye's friends Sig and Meryl decide they can no longer stay and move to a retirement home, leaving Frank to care for Faye, who struggles with dementia. The hardships each tenant faces collide through each encounter with Carlos, relying on them to unite together in order to stand their ground, which fails at every level before the fix-its arrive. The characters' lives are changed after Faye encounters the small mechanical aliens who arrive in search of power. The miracle these little creatures provide is just what the residents need in their dire circumstances. I love the idea that the discovery of the fix-its is found by a mentally distorted Faye, causing everyone to question the validity of what she's found. Like all miracles, the characters' lives are altered forever by the miraculous experience. Even Carlos has an attempt at redemption in the end. Principal photography started in New York City in August of 1986, but location scouting began almost a year before. Ronald Charvery said, "Since the story called for a solitary building amidst the rubble, we had to find a vacant lot with burned out buildings all around it. We finally settled on an actual building on the 8th Street between Avenues C and D on New York's Lower East Side. Production designer Ted Harworth designed a 3-sided 4-story tenement facade and oversaw its construction on a location that covered most of the city block. In the name of authenticity, he brought 50 to 60 truckloads of rubble to cover the once vacant lot. It was so remarkably realistic that the sanitation department came by and took away prop garbage one morning. Potential customers stopped by to eat in the diner, and the business agent for the Plumbers Local of New York visited, demanding to know why there wasn't a permit down at City Hall for the construction. The fixits were created and feature cutting-edge miniature and optical work from the visual effects giant Industrial Light and Magic. The creature effects are adorable and hold up rather well almost 40 years later. The model mechanical supervisor, Tad Karzanowinski, designed a clever marionette rig that enabled director Matthew Robbins to shoot his small saucers live alongside the actors. The saucer itself is a full-size prop, hand-built and rigged with the internal lights and motors to bring it to life. Spielberg encouraged the visual effects team to perform as much of the puppetry on set as possible. Thanks to this approach, around 50 of the film's 175 effects shots were in the can by the end of principal photography. The model team adapted their well-honed motion control techniques to match the footage shot on location, the main one of which was repurposing the Karzanowinski's wire rig to function in front of the ILM blue screen. The mechanism presented tremendous advantages because they could program compound movements that would have been very difficult to get otherwise. The combination of traditional hands-on animation skills and ILM's computerized system was used to pull off the shot. The film's cinematography is nothing spectacular by today's standards of lighting and color grading. I would say it's on par with the likes of other Spielbergian-inspired movies from the 80s, like Short Circuit and Mac and Me. I would say most of the lighting blends extremely well with all the post-production stop-motion shots that were added after principal photography. I can appreciate all the effort that went into the film's set design. The dilapidated building has a disgusting charm about it. The sets are realistic and gritty, but fall short of creating the cinematic atmosphere as movies like E.T. The diner has so much spunk and character that I can see how people accidentally walked on set and thought it was real. My heart broke at the thought they might have destroyed an antique Wurlitzer in the movie. The most notable eye candy in all of the film is the third act, where the band of eclectic characters is hopelessly seen walking around Manhattan. Even though a large part of the movie takes place in the apartment building, it was nice to see the story take you to a larger place. James Horner was Spielberg's composer of choice, and not unsurprisingly, as he took a similar approach to Cocoon with its charming and heartwarming orchestral music mixed with big band swing. The score has an endearing quality to it and makes for an entertaining and engaging album. The main title is charming and upbeat as a swing piece, and supports the older main characters in the classic feel of the 50s-style diner and rundown apartment building. I love the photo montage and the opening credits, along with the jazzy soundtrack. The film score takes you back to a simpler time. Even though I never experienced the 1950s, you get the sense of happiness while struggling to survive in the slums of a major city. Karzanowinski's wire rig was a key innovation that helped pull off the visual effects of the movie. His rig won an Academy Award for scientific and technical achievement. It also represents much of what the 1980s were about in terms of visual effects. It's old stop-motion technology working hand-in-hand with new computerized technology. Gene Siskel describes it as a comic book with the best pages torn out and accused the film of having forced warmth, while Roger Ebert defended the film, saying it had a lot of good feeling in it. It had a few nice laughs, had a few interesting special effects, and it's better than most of the stuff out there. You'd have to be missing a heart to agree with Siskel on this one. This movie is full of so much love and innocence, one can't help but be moved by the performances, most notably Frank and Faye. I like how the movie's brave enough to make a story about a struggling elderly couple that showcases a character suffering from dementia. I can't think of a modern movie that's done the same. After 35 years, the Fix-Its are still captivating on screen. Seeing them fly around is a wonderful special effect that holds up rather well. I can't imagine today's modern effects being able to pull off the charm these little stop-motion characters provide on screen. Although the film feels like a 1980s sitcom, it makes for a fun, family-friendly sci-fi film that's heartwarming and entertaining, and there aren't too many films out there that fit the bill. For these reasons, I give Batteries Not Included a B. Thank you for participating, and please stay tuned for more sci-fi movie reviews. Until then, drop me a comment below and tell me why you love or hate Batteries Not Included. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, because this transmission may be the only one you hear from space.